In North America alone, hundreds of community choirs and choruses disappear every year, not because of some scandal or some catastrophe, but just fewer singers, less money, one final concert, and then silence. But this doesn't have to be your story. So stay tuned and we're going to teach you how to avoid this sad outcome for your group. Today we're going to talk about how to increase your revenue to be safe even in difficult times so you can keep making music for many years to come. So breathe in, breathe out. Let's jump into it. Welcome to the Choir Genius channel. I'm Tom Metzger. These are difficult times. Sorry about that. Not that kind of difficult times. I mean, the world is just a little more chaotic, a little less stable than it has been over the last several decades. And so it makes it a little bit riskier that your group can continue to do things the way you've always done them and still expect to survive and thrive. As I'm sure you know, every choir is a business. People think of it as a musical organization, but it's a business like any other business. And the only thing that can really kill you is running out of cash. So you can deal with a lot of terrible things happening with a bad concert, you can deal with a membership drop, you can deal with some kind of scandal, but if you run out of cash, you're actually in big trouble and you're going to have to change the way you do things, and maybe rapidly and uncomfortably. And as you know, there's no such thing as a guaranteed source of cash. So if your group depends for 50% of their income from membership dues, and then for some reason membership gets cut in half or worse, like, I don't know, a global pandemic or something. Well, that's stupid. That would never happen. But anyway, if it were to happen, you'd be in big trouble. If you depend too much on that one source of income and that one source of income goes away, you need to adapt quickly, or just you're dead in the water. Or maybe your choir gets a substantial amount of money from a government grant. And if you've been getting that grant for a few years, due to human nature, I can almost assure you that you depend on that money. And then the government changes over, the government changes priorities, because they give out that money for their own reasons, not for yours. And suddenly that grant gets cut in half or cut all the way to zero. If you depend on that money, now again, you're in big trouble. Or maybe your budget is mostly ticket sales generated. So you sell out 6 big Christmas shows every year, and that's 60% of your revenue for the year. But then one year there's a recession or there's a competing event and your gate falls by 50%. Suddenly you've got a 30% hole in your budget. And again, you're kind of dead in the water. You're going to have to make big adjustments in a way that you don't want to do and not on your own comfortable time scale. The point is, as many wise people have said for a long time, you really shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. You really need to have multiple independent streams of revenue so you can survive that occasional black swan event. At the same time, not every revenue stream makes sense for every group, and every revenue stream comes with its own kind of additional cost. And so you have to understand all of that nuance in order to make great choices for your group so you can build that revenue mix into the future in a way that's going to be resilient for you and that makes sense for your organization. So in this video series, we're going to take a look at each of those revenue streams, how to execute well on each one, how to avoid the pitfalls, what the costs are or the hidden costs might be, so that you can make the right decision for your group going forward. So now let's take a look at a few examples, a few choir business models, so we can see exactly how their mix might work or typically works, what their risks or weaknesses might be, so that maybe you can see your group in these examples and decide right away that you need to make some changes. And now, I would love it if you would like this video and subscribe to the Choir Genius channel. Not because it benefits me, we're never going to make any money from YouTube here, it's not what we do, but because we're out there every day making content to help make choirs and choruses better and to make more music happen in the world. So if that's something that you care about, then help people find our content. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and as a bonus, YouTube will also let you know then when the next episodes of this How to Make Money as a Choir series drop. So thank you, and let's get back to the content. So as our first simple example, let's take a look at what we call the participation model. And you can see on this diagram, membership dues are 60% of the income for this group. But there's also ticket sales, and the risk here is that if for any reason membership drops, like let's say your musical director turns over, moves to another place, something else happens in your community, there's lots of different things that could cause that to happen, suddenly you're going to have less revenue from membership dues, probably less revenue from ticket sales as well, because those are definitely correlated. And therefore, your revenue is going to go down, but probably your fixed expenses will not go down. So you're going to get squeezed. That is the risk of this. So how could this group do better? Well, look at the fundraising slice and the other slice. If we could make those bigger, or even add another slice to this diagram, this group would be safer going forward. Or another example, let's take a look at what we call the patron model that is very heavy on grants and donations. So as you can see on this pie chart, we've got 35% coming in from grants, 30% from ticket sales, 15% from donations, and then sponsors and merchandise make out the rest. So this is a typical pattern for kind of an elite cultural icon in a given city where they're just getting a lot of support from the city, from the state, from the province, what have you. And so what's the risk there? Well, government grants and ticket sales can both be pretty fickle. There's a lot of things that could happen there. Government shortfalls, cutting back on the arts could be, again, something happens with ticket sales in your city and you're in a world of hurt. And so what can we do to make this better? Well, again, it's going to be expanding some of those other slices. Imagine, for example, that merchandising for this group could be brought up to 20%. I'm sure there's ways to do that, and that would make this group safer going forward. And for our last example, let's take a look at what we call the performance model. So as you can see with this group, we've got 50% of revenue coming from ticket sales and then 25% coming from additional performance fees. So this is the kind of group that just does a ton of concerts and makes most of their money that way. And probably these people are going to be high expense because they're paying their singers. Otherwise, they probably couldn't get their singers to do all that much singing and performing, could they? And what's the risk here? Well, again, if anything gets in the way of those ticket sales, say a recession, which we might be coming up to right now, how can we make it so that they're still safe? Well, again, merchandising could be part of it. Could be moving some of those ticket sales to more of an online format so that you're insulated to some extent from what happens locally. Anyway, there's a lot that we can do. And again, our goal is to make it so that this group and your group are safe going forward, ready to survive and thrive. So what's a choir leader to do? Well, if you're like me and you tend to overdo things just a little bit, you might be thinking to yourself, I'm going to dive into all of these revenue streams. It's going to be amazing. But it's also a little bit unrealistic because every revenue stream adds revenue to your organization, but it also tends to come along with costs. So for example, what about membership? Members tend to bring revenue with them, which is great, and they help with ticket sales, also great, but they also come with costs. First of all, you're leaning into recruiting, which is not free. Secondly, more people means more risers, bigger rehearsal venue, maybe a bigger performance venue down the road. It also means more administration to keep all those people all doing the right thing at the right time. And if you're paying your administrators, that means more costs on the staff side. And if you're not paying your administrators, you're still paying the cost. And people forget this all the time, but you're just paying it in terms of burnout instead of cash, which means turnover. And it's kind of the same either way. So whether you're paying them or not, more members means more expenses. And it's the same with ticket sales. Sure, you want to sell more tickets, but that means spending more money on advertising, probably a bigger performance venue. And if you're asking your singers to do the selling, which is something that many, many groups do, then you're also compromising that singer experience and you're kind of burning out your singers. And so there's no free lunch here, right? One way or the other, every source of revenue comes with cost. Another example, getting serious about donations and grants means you've got somebody paying attention to that issue all the time. That's not a free position, generally speaking, and you're not even allowed to pay them just a commission. In most jurisdictions, that's not allowed. So now you are investing in staff that you have to pay in order to build up a donor or grant situation over time. Donors tend to require nurturing. You're not going to walk in on day one and just have all the donors you're ever going to have. It's going to take years potentially to build up that donor base. And the same thing with grants. A lot of the time you have to demonstrate success in various ways and reapply every year. And that's just a lot of effort. It can be a great payoff, but it comes with cost. And so you have to know that before you decide whether it's right for you. So in summary for this video, adding new revenue streams to get to a safer place for your group takes some planning, some consideration, some appreciation of nuance, and you may have to invest in a new revenue stream for some time before it starts really paying you back significantly. The devil, as they say, is in the details. And so to get to a lot of those details, subscribe to the channel and YouTube will let you know when each new episode drops, because we're going to do a deep dive into every possible revenue stream that you might consider so that you can really understand how to execute on that, what the pitfalls are, and whether it's right for your group. Now, let's get out there and make some music.